There we go. All right. Hi, and welcome to the Skeptical Leftist podcast, the show where I talk to a variety of people to spread critical thinking, progressive politics, and left-wing philosophy. And today I'm joined by Jessa McLean. Thanks for joining me.
I'm glad to be here. I had fun last time.
Yeah, it's always good conversation. I've been on your show a couple times since then, the Rabble Rants, I guess it is.
Yeah, you joined our live stream and helped us unpack the headlines. They're always so horrible. It's nice to have comrades to go through them.
Yeah, I was pretty quiet in a lot of those, but yeah, there's always a couple things to say. I think last time I kind of mischaracterized the lumpen proletariat concept from Marxism. I may have inadvertently led people to believe that Marxists believe that's the way it should be.
I think you had a clarifying statement there, but yeah. Are you one of those you play back and you're overly critical? It must make everything so brutal for you.
I can be pretty hard on myself sometimes when I'm looking back on things. I go, oh, Corey, that wasn't 100% perfectly accurate.
Purists, sorry, yeah. Damn leftists.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I understand what you mean, especially live. It's so unforgiving. Here we can edit our mistakes out.
That's right. Not that I do a lot of that because I want to be honest when I make a mistake. I'm like, yeah, I fucked up.
I'm not that humble. I hear myself back sometimes and go, oh, that's kind of cringe. We're just going to take that out.
Got to take that out, eh?
Yeah. What were you thinking?
Fair enough. So I guess I wanted to talk to you because we're going to talk, the election was just last week. Exactly a week ago, I guess.
Yeah. What an election that was.
Yeah, ultimately we ended up with mostly the same situation, but now the NDP doesn't have official party status. Poilievre is taking a seat from a MP in Alberta.
He'll try.
He's going to try.
I would love to see all the Liberal volunteers, top-notch ones, just show up there and out-campaign them.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's just a dream.
Yeah.
I was hoping Freeland wouldn't get her seat. I knew this would be a win for the bankers no matter what. So I just kind of held on to personal vendettas and watched riding by riding to see if the worst of the worst would at least go down. I mean, some heavy Zios went down and that was nice. But I mean, a lot of us disgruntled NDPers are not surprised by that part of the outcome, at all. It's just been a steady decline with folks just screaming from the rooftops, stop what you're doing, turn around. And they were like, we're good. So they're living with that right now. But the worst thing for me, though, Corey, is the relief everyone's feeling by installing Wall Street's one of their favorite bankers.
For sure.
And I do wonder what that will mean for the discourse moving forward.
Well, it has to pull it more right, doesn't it? Because I mean, he's obviously pro-capital, he's very pro-austerity, he's very pro-business. He's not that far different from Poilievre. He just doesn't have the populist anti-SJW talking points, right? Anti-wokeness stuff.
Yeah, there's some social issues. He is obviously overtly on what seems like polar opposites, but you can't separate economics from the social, right? We know austerity is coming. We know that will disproportionately impact already marginalized people. So no, he might not go after trans health care, but the impacts could be felt similarly across the board anyway, right? Yeah. The pro-corporate line, he's not even been shy about it. People just really didn't want to hear it during the election. I'm hoping now that he's there and they don't have to be so scared of Poilievre. I mean, he's not even in the House to be scared of right now. And they can be openly critical of all the announcements he's making. But, it's the usual suspects that are pointing out the fact that he's got almost $80 billion in tax cuts and handouts really for corporations.
Right.
He hasn't explicitly said where that's going to come from, but it's not going to come from military spending.
Right. It's got to come from social supports and maybe even like cutting healthcare just in general.
He says the transfers are safe, but it does have to come from somewhere. And it's speculation at this point where, but a lot of folks are, the argument is it's such an obvious economic disaster to do that in a recession and facing what we're facing. So we
Yeah.
might get eased into it, but he's been pretty clear. He uses key trigger words there in his first presser, things like capping public sector. That,
Right.
I mean, those are scary words. It sounds really mundane to the uninformed, perhaps, but that means, EI. It could mean child tax credit. It could mean who knows what he'll have to give the conservatives every now and again,
Yeah, like it could
or
mean the dental program that just came in. It could mean, yeah, who knows, right?
don't get me started about that dental. Like,
Yeah.
even from their ashes, they're still standing there going, like Matthew Green. This has really got me really upset this morning. He's going, we made the right call. I would do it all over again if it meant giving 9,000 people in Hamilton dental care. And I said this earlier, so I'm going to sound like a broken record, anybody who's following me around, but it's like, when workers are living through crazy amounts of inflation, they go on strike, they end up with like 1-2%
Yeah.
salary increase, and they're supposed to be like fucking grateful.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Jagmeet in his concession speech there too was just like no humbleness about him. It was trying to get us to celebrate where we were at. There was no recognition of the perils that we were left in. None.
Yeah.
None. He was just like, hey, I left you guys in a great place. I sacrificed. I threw myself down on my sword and I gave you dental care. And we've got to see the bright side in this. And I don't think that was the time. I think people needed to be like, hey, man, we're shell shocked. That was awful. There's a lot of work that needs to get done. And I don't need to be a part of it because I was frankly part of the problem. Like, I would love to see that from a politician. I don't think we ever will.
No. That's why they're politicians, right? They must have some overinflated sense of importance. Because that's why they think that they're capable of ruling over 34 million people.
Yeah, in the way that they do too. Like, and I know good people go in there, but I think if you stay long enough, it's a sign that maybe I was wrong about you, to be honest.
Right. Yeah.
Because I didn't need to look inside for very long before it was just like, ooh, no, like this is a detriment. And yeah, it's left us with a celebration of neoliberalism,
Yeah.
like genuine relief from like all sides. Even the NDP is like, see what we did, we saved the day.
Right.
And that's going to give people the mindset that the stuff that Carney has planned is all going to save us too. Right. And he's really just going to be looking to give capital whatever he can get away with. And the official opposition is not going to stop him from doing any of the most harmful policies.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, the harmful policies would have been their ideas too, right?
Yeah, that's the point, right? Like they're going to be in a hard place, but they often vote with the liberals. They like to try to pretend that they don't, but the conservatives will continue to vote with the liberals and do a lot of grandstanding on these niche issues that make no sense really in terms of improving the working class conditions. They're distractions, right? That they have us trying to focus on. But all of the austerity measures that we could possibly imagine, the spending of our dollars on imperialism and whatnot, that will be greenlit all the way. They will have no problem with getting three conservatives on vote for the worst of the worst. I don't care if they want to save face by looking like an opposition. Not at the cost of capital, they won't.
No, that's right. And when you think like the increase in like opposition to the United States, and a lot of Carney's rhetoric has been like, we will rise up as a new economic power in the world now that the U.S. is sacrificing their position. And it's like, in order to do that, you have to sacrifice the people of the country, the working people, the underclass, the unemployed. Like this is who ends up suffering every time.
Yeah, even most of our responses, or elbows up responses, are kind of aimed at working class Americans. The tariff for tariff. Rich folks can just ride that shit out. But Carney talks that game. One of the first things he did, I mean, capital gains aside and all of that,
Yeah.
like
Like
red flags.
yeah,
I feel
no
like I should
shit.
just hold one all the time. But, there's a contract up for some night vision goggles, and he excludes EU bidding partners. So he's pretty much handing the contract to the US, $100 million military contract, when we're supposed to be distinguishing ourselves, especially when it comes to our sovereignty and defense.
Right.
And he couldn't even spend a week because, we don't know where his stocks are invested. They're in a blind trust.
Right.
The contracts going to the US military industrial complex are surely money in his pocket or money
Almost certainly.
in his
Uh,
friends' pockets.
you think about yeah, it's in a blind trust, but who the people or the organizations, banks controlling that are going to put that into fucking probably whatever regular kind of main stocks that are going to gain money, which is always your military contractors, which is always your nasty shit.
I mean, your universities are fucking invested in
Yeah.
military contractors. It's not like a villainous thing to do in the world of investing. Our public pensions are all
Apparently.
invested in the worst of the
That's
worst,
right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like this is just the world of economy. And look at us normalizing that we have an economist ahead of the country. Like
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Like and some people are probably going to hear me say that, say, "Oh, you're so naive. You don't understand economics." No, we understand economics, and we
Yeah.
know that we don't want somebody who believes in trickle down or thinks it's important to sell trickle down running the show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And
it's very much, yeah. Like obviously neoliberalism should be debunked by now, right?
we work so hard. We work so hard for it. We just need bigger audience or something. I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
there's many people screaming this from the rooftop, and it's like empirically obvious. Like even if you don't understand it at all, surely you don't see the rich kind of leveling out, right? Like
The
you
gap
can
keeps
see it
getting
with your
bigger.
eyes. Yeah, it gets more ridiculous. They're shooting their girlfriends into space, right? Just for
Right.
kicks. It's
Yeah.
like it can't get any more. They're screaming, "Let them have cake!" And some people are still holding oligarchs at a certain level. Now we've nationalized what kind of oligarchs, though, right? At least now it's just we do hate American oligarchs. We know that much, right?
Right,
Elon
right.
is not even American, but we don't really care. It's if Canadian ones are spared,
Yeah.
unless your name is
somehow.
Weston.
Yeah,
He
well.
can go for all of them, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. He took the fall and we ignore the rest. We don't
The
even
East
know the
Coast is
names of
yelling,
most of them.
The Irvings. Yes, we forgot about the Irvings. I'm so sorry. Ontario-centric mind over here, but
Fair.
we got a few villains. But yeah, it's just holding them to such high regard. I think people knew Carney's connections to Wall Street and thought maybe that was a plus. That's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty sad.
We're laughing, right? But we're trying to cope.
That's exactly it. Like this is a depression laugh, I guess.
I mean, we knew the NDP was falling. It doesn't mean it brings us joy, even though sometimes I do report on all of that with a smile, but it's just validation smile. But it does signal something kind of politically wrong with our spectrum, right? It's a real, once that is absent from the House at all, even though we have our critiques, it starts to be really easy to normalize some really harmful policies that we thought we'd grown out of.
Yeah, for sure.
Cycle of politics where even though we learn our history, you're still doomed to repeat it.
Seems like, yeah. It's like, like almost just a denial of the history, even though you know it, right?
You think you could do better.
Yeah,
that's what all the people trying to reform the NDP right now are thinking, right? We know this is a different situation. They know how bad it is now, that we'll be able to rebuild. And yeah, I think like election time comes around and we get really caught up in their importance. votes, but it's the other organizing that's happening, throughout the 4 years in between that is really going to make the difference for folks, like materially and
Right.
being able to weather the storm that's coming, right? Like, because once capitalism's face and its mask is taken off, its face is revealed, its true face, they're going to have to roll out fascism because people are going to be like, what?
Yeah.
It's getting to that point, and you can't just maintain this kind of maintenance level style capitalism. It has to get a little bit into overdrive. And I think we're seeing little bits of that. Like, you've got a liberal PM coming in talking about harsher bail conditions and in protest bans
Right.
and 2,000 more border guards and police officers. It's like, you didn't need to announce that. He felt the need to announce that right away. I mean, you could have just slipped that in like every other liberal, right? Tell us
Right.
we're going to
Right.
give us electoral reform and then give us everything else. But this one's coming in to applause with ideas like this. That means we've got more work to do.
No kidding. I'm reading a book. It's called The Operating System. It's an anarchist theory of the state. And a piece of it rang true to me today when I was reading it. And it's about how fascism doesn't just come in and like promise a utopia, right? Like they come in and they tell you you're going to sacrifice, you're going to be suffering, you're going to lose, but it's for the national interest. It's for the benefit of the country. And somehow people buy that shit. And I feel like that's what we're seeing, like, obviously in the States with Trump going like, oh, well, you all knew what you were voting for. But also with Carney being like, well, we're going to do these awful things all in the name of improving our economy.
And you see Trump doing that, he started saying, I'm going to lower the price of eggs. But quite
Right.
quickly, he obviously had to start selling this point that, buckle up. This is the, rough period while everybody's responding to it. It'll work itself out. We'll end up a great nation. And, now throwing military parades on his birthday. It's very reminiscent. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's tough though, because in reality, obviously, any kind of system change comes with it the need to get through a difficult period. Because we will ask that of our comrades too. At some point, we are going to have to go through a change of everything we know. And there will be, as much as we can logistically plan for supports like that just transition, like that green transition that takes care of workers at the same time. I mean, it's not going to be even in that be without hiccups, be without folks that would have stories where they can go back like, that was the worst time of my life. And maybe it's accurate for them.
Right.
So it is a truth that folks, I think, are going to have to start sitting with, that if you really do want great change, if it's fascist change, like, it's going to hurt for obvious reasons, but even the move to it will be difficult. But so will the other way, right? So that's why I think like support systems and whatnot building is crucial for both purposes, right? Because like we're not going to be without a tough period regardless right now.
Yeah, I always kind of view it as like a lot of us can give up some of the luxury we have and still be okay in order to support those who don't have enough to even survive. So I think it's two different levels of suffering, I guess.
It is when you say it that way, right? But like, I've got family members there who have the world, Corey. All right. I'm not going to list it. They've got the world, but they look at their tax return and they're ready to up and move to the United States despite everything that they see.
Right.
That feels like oppression to them.
That's so weird.
It is so weird. And if you actually tell people, okay, we can all live here. This isn't a population program. This isn't we have too many people. We consume at a level that is unsustainable. So when you look around you, we can't all actually live like this with that amount of property, with that size of a house, with 3 vehicles. but we can live well
Yeah.
together in a much more connected way. Like there'll be give and take, right? Like
Right.
you're going to trade a lot for those little bits of luxury. But I
Yeah.
think some people, when you tell them that they're going to have less than what they worked for, they're not at a place to recognize that as anything but, taking.
Yeah. No, that's
The
true.
individualism is something we have to eat away at as well, right? Like people need to experience what community is again. Sometimes that's out of fucking dire need, but hopefully we don't need to get there where, you're having to lean on your neighbors that you never even bothered to go meet before, right? But
Yeah.
people will get there just sometimes when it's a little bit too late. But yeah, it's convincing people that it's especially white people, settlers think levels of equity, this attack on DEI, right? It
Mm.
threatens their level of superiority that they have enjoyed. They may not be able to explicitly even know that that's why they're feeling that, but
Right.
it does feel like a pull away from them and their people, and
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, it seems very
get
strange.
irrational responses sometimes.
I mean, we all act irrationally sometimes. I feel the same kind of thing. I'm a very privileged person, and I try to acknowledge that regularly and know that all the time. But yeah, there are times when I feel like, oh, fuck, it'd be great if this didn't happen. I not to be oh poor me, but I just had to pull all my money out of savings because I hit a deer on the highway going to work, and we have to, we're trying to figure out how to get another car so that I can continue going to work. And but I was in a position where I had savings to pull, and many people don't. But it still felt like suffering, right?
That's when, yeah, that's hard. Sometimes we feel like maybe those feelings aren't valid, and they totally are. We all have to adjust to things in our life and grieve sometimes with our silly things, right? In hindsight, but it's knowing that you have a greater understanding of where you're at. It doesn't make it any less valid, though.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you're in a tough spot. You got to keep working because you can kind of laugh, but if you didn't have that savings, which you might not now,
Right.
you're in a completely different spot than you were. You're in a bit of a precarious place where we know a lot of Canadians are literally
Yeah.
one paycheck away from couch surfing and then being homeless. So,
That's right.
that's if you have those stopping points along the way, and
Yeah.
because our shelter system's totally inadequate, and that's another discussion. But these aren't small things when the social safety net starts to disappear.
Yeah. And I know not too many people are going to feel sorry for Saskatchewan oil field workers. But OPEC just announced that there's 8 countries going to increase production of 411,000 barrels per day in June. And that's going to bring the price down, and it's going to affect Saskatchewan and Alberta economy, and a lot of jobs, and a lot of people are going to be not as well off as they were. And yeah, it's these things are real, right?
And how we respond to them politically is critical,
Yeah.
right? Because people will be on tough times in those moments, and how you seize that or recognize those situations matter, right?
Yeah.
You can't stand there and be like, oh, you know what? Things are, at least you have dental care.
Yeah,
right? Don't worry. At least you have dental care. Celebrate, right?
Yeah.
You got something. It's like, no, it's this recognition that things suck, systems suck. The right is great at regurgitating that kind of, and gathering the masses in that moment. So when times maybe hit the oil fields of Canada, how we respond to it is how maybe we harness them politically.
Yeah, that's right. It's very much like, I can already see without even seeing anything online yet, I know how this is going to play out in Saskatchewan and Alberta. It's going to be blamed on Carney and the Liberal Party and immigrants and poor people who are taking advantage of quote unquote taking advantage of the system, and this and that and the other thing. It's going to be all this scapegoating. Nothing's going to be addressed with how the system actually functions or how people actually need to make a living.
Yeah, what a great time for labor to really take up EI as a cause.
Yeah. For sure.
right? And do do the legislated poverty while you're at it, right? Like hit at the idea of government handouts, right? Really start
Right.
eating away at that ideology that we've lost steps on. I mean, I keep going back, but it's like, I guess my niche, but the NDP went out demonizing taxes. Like GST is, I understand it's not the most fair tax, but it was
Right.
just this idea of not reinforcing the proper ideology and doing it right.
Yeah.
So rather than, trying to say save oil field jobs, because then you run into the problem. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Corey, that must
Nope.
like hit different, but like we're moving towards no more pipelines, right?
That's
So the
right.
idea is to support these workers and recognize we're going to have out of work people. We
Yeah.
need a robust employment insurance is what they want to call it, but it's not, and
Yeah.
you don't have insurance that you'll be employed at all, right? We need it for when you're
Yeah.
unemployed.
That's right.
And that is a talking point that only Labor can do now, right? Because you've got only 7
Yep.
NDP MPs, and surely the Liberals are known as an anti-worker party by this point with
They
all their
must be.
back to work legislation. And
Yeah.
oh yeah, so
No, for sure.
that's a cause they can focus on, because
And
even the tariffs will do some damage there.
And I mean, it's still a kind of a pro-capital kind of move, but like the just transition to like greener technologies, things that aren't based on oil, right? Like these are things that still serve capital in a sense, but like could create jobs for people who formerly worked in the oil field.
Yes, but you could also like nationalize the industries as you build them.
That would be even
You
better.
don't have to give those contracts to private entities. But that's not going to be no Carney
Yeah,
move.
that's right. That's right.
He's
The
got
banker's not
friends.
going to do that.
No, and even if you don't care where his money is in trust, like someone pointed me to an article by the Narwhal, and they really lay out just how brutal a capitalist he is.
Okay.
So folks need to really buckle up
I'll have
and
to
get
print
ready
that
to
out.
go up against them. And I'm wondering where Labor's sitting right now, right? They don't have the NDP. They might feel like any political capital they spend is just kind of maybe lost at this point. And do they want to be on the winning team, or do they want to be that force that like is the only draw away from the neoliberal agenda? Because it's not going to be the bloc to a large part.
Right.
We might have a few exceptions. Like maybe they will surprise us. I don't think so.
Yeah,
And the NDP
yeah,
holds no sway.
that's right. I thought even the bloc already said, like in their speech after the election, like that they're going to be focused on unity and like cooperation with the liberals, and you go like, oh, okay, well that's not what I like to hear.
Well, they'll probably be tit for tat. There's some projects that need to
Yeah.
go through Quebec, and they'll probably just have to be compensated for ceding some points to the Liberals, but they'll likely be able to utilize their position a lot better than the NDP did with a similar amount of seats.
Right.
But yeah, they've all got the same agenda.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Even
The expansion of the state and capital. That's how this works.
And the conservatives will try to play the small government card, and that's such it's such bullshit line, right? Because then they get worse spenders. They end up inflating government costs through stupid partnerships and lawsuits upon lawsuits, because they're always working against charter rights.
Right. How do people fall for that from the conservatives anymore? Like, obviously, they believe in a bigger government in a variety of ways, including invading personal lives. Like, what is small about the government the conservatives want?
You know how people are just stuck in their ways? A lot of it is that the path of least resistance is like just supporting the blue team because my dad flies the blue flag. But I think traditionally they also always have like either the federal government to blame. Right now, conservative provincial governments are really good and have been so great at blaming Trudeau. They fed it that fuck Trudeau. Like it was it was a concerted effort by many parties, but really they banked off of that. And now, they can blame Carney, while the provinces really play a much more critical role in your material outcomes,
Yeah.
like for a large part. And so, yeah, they're going to get away with that. And so now I wonder, when we see Jagmeet's concession speech and admitting that, and we've seen the memes. Oh, I saw a horrible one earlier today. It was like, I'm sorry, I'm not a Trekkie. I think it's like some sort of Star Trek reference
Okay.
of a ship sacrificing itself to save the rest of the squadron.
Okay.
So this is supposed to represent the NDP, blowing itself up to prevent us from getting this conservative supermajority that Matthew uses. Like, we don't have supermajorities. Please stop using that term. It's no better or worse than just a regular majority. It's a majority. It may sound worse if the numbers, but obviously we weren't even in that territory. But either way, they saved us from this conservative supermajority. But maybe if everything went to shit when everyone had a conservative government, who would you be left to blame? How it would be bad. I know it would be bad, but we have such a bad pattern in Canada, especially in Ontario. I don't know, like, the track record of Saskatchewan, but we quite literally will only ever be the opposite of what the federal government is. And it's chicken or the egg, I don't know, because we hold a lot of sway in the federal elections too. We're sorry. I mean, we're sorry. It's not our fault. We didn't actually create the system, but yeah, that's our pattern over in Ontario. And so, yeah, once you have double trouble, I mean, who's going to pass the buck? For a while, you can blame the previous government, but
Yeah, I don't know if Saskatchewan can say much about that. We've been, like, the Sask party has been in power for like 18 years now. So, like, I don't know. We don't have a pattern. We just have one party.
That's brutal. I feel like we're headed that way, so I better not say anything, because Ford is unbelievable, and he really has no challenger, despite the awfulness. And then do you still have Liberal Party over there or no?
It not provincially, not really.
Not really? Would someone be really hurt to hear you say that, or like officially no? Like, they have no seats?
Like, they have no seats.
Okay.
No, they have no seats.
Right. So they might as well be the Rhinoceros Party.
Yeah, I think somebody exists who calls themselves a Liberal Party. But
some riding president somewhere's crying.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't think they exist. That's like the NDP in Quebec. No, they don't really exist that much.
But even our NDP, which is technically our opposition party, like, they're essentially liberals, which is, I mean, they keep placating the Sask party. They keep saying the same nonsense about austerity and sacrifice and worshiping oil and all that shit. So
I think I talked to someone, Matt Fodor, today. He's an NDP historian for the most part, and other things. He's not there, but he made the point that for the longest time, especially under our electoral system, the NDP held that position of the only choice for progressives. It's like the Communist Party out there going, but like, the only viable choice, right? Like, because they had the infrastructure, they have the seats, some, right? Like, some is better than none. They have a profile in the press, like, they'll be invited to debates, etc. Right?
Right.
And so now that you don't have official party status, and you have, the Alberta NDP members voting to distance themselves, and like, that pattern will probably repeat itself. They don't hold that position kind of exclusively anymore. And I think we'll start to get the emergence of more things like COPE, the coalition that put Sean Orr in office in Vancouver, where, an open socialist won a councillor seat there with a great campaign. Or you'll see the emergence of other fringe parties, because, what was the stat Matt gave me? That Elizabeth May's best campaign got her a higher percentage of the popular vote than the NDP got right now. So the idea of an emerging party having no chance, that kind of all went out the window when Jagmeet decided to single-handedly meet with his close staff and implode a party that generations built. That
Yeah,
was so
for sure.
selfish to even admit that, to think like one election cycle gave you the justification to basically shove an ideology under the rug.
Yeah, this election was so important that the entire idea of the NDP deserves to be blown up, eh?
Yeah, like
Very
that's
strange.
it is. But and we're always told every election's like the most important in our
Right.
generation. And we
Yeah.
let Trump dictate to a large part our reaction to how we voted and how
Yep.
we're responding to everything. And that hyper nationalism that's building around that is just one of those things. And even Cheeto is just excited about folks getting all nationalistic with one another. Capital loves that shit too.
Yep.
So it's allowing our governments to get away with a lot in this crisis mode. And Cardi will try to sell this crisis mode for a while, right? As
Yeah.
long as these things are unpredictable, and that whole administration is so unpredictable. Even in the debate, all of them kind of ceded that point that like there would be this era of Trump and they would just have to be dealing with him and him alone. Uh, I don't.
There's other shit going on too.
Apparently not. But then there's our premiers, right? They're so upset, like Daniel Smith and Ford, just kind of hot mic moments this week.
Yeah.
My premier's just blasting judges, like ready to do his own appointments, saying he'll pay them to retire early because they shot down his bike lane destruction.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
Danielle Smith's ready to have a referendum on separation because none of them have got the attention they deserve over the last
Old
like
Scotty boy
30.
is like there too.
This drama's been lasting since like December with Trudeau and the feds, right? No one's given a shit about provincial politics. I don't even know what Ford has passed. Actually, I do. But, most people don't. Like Bill 5 and 6 are just, we're screwed. Like he's getting away with so much stuff
Yeah.
because we're focused on the feds and Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, Scott Moe here, he's same thing as Danielle Smith. Like he wasn't quite as fiery as her. He's like, I would not reject a referendum on separatism. I was like, well, what the fuck are you doing then? Like,
And people are so naive. They don't understand how complex like separation would be. It seems like you sound so flippant and silly when you start talking about that. Even Quebec, with all of their preparation, and like they've been focused on that since
a long time.
the formation of the Confederation. They've been planning the exit, man. They're like, I knew this was a bad idea, and yeah,
They're
it's
still
like,
here.
don't think, oh, you're going to get some citizen referendum that's all of a sudden going to allow you to, like, does Saskatchewan want to be the 51st state, or do they see themselves standing alone in the middle of this landmass?
I'm actually slightly heartened by some of the stuff I see online. People actually saying, oh, I don't agree with that. I don't want to be the 51st state. I don't want to separate from Canada. And of course, there's a lot of Indigenous folks who are like, you can't.
Yeah, Danielle Smith got cease and desist letters going, you're on treaty land. Oh, I won't say the word, but, sit down.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not
you
your
guys
land
can't.
to take.
What do you think
I wish most
about?
people would, there are so many issues we deal with that if we had focused or continue to focus on land back and Indigenous sovereignty, they would be solutions to a lot of problems, including ending, exploitive resource extraction. Not to say that no Indigenous people support, and I'm not opening that can of worms, but, right now we're hinging a lot of our environmental protections on, endangered species acts that are just, they could be gone in the wind. I mean, that's what Ford just did. He got rid of the Endangered Species Act here. And that's like one of the most protective things when you're trying to, protect water, sources of water and all of that. You can really say, well, that will harm this protected species.
There's the spotted owl over there. You can't
go. It sounds silly, but it is a big tool, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you keep begging for these little things and finding loopholes. How about you just say, this is Indigenous land? People who've been known to be able to caretake for the land in a sustainable way for millennial, like, let's look to that as an actual solution to where we're going. Okay? And then you don't get so tied up in the electoral politics. It's very freeing to realize you're just playing into a real colonial system to begin with, right? You're just trying to still beg for crumbs.
Yeah.
that are taken from Indigenous people.
Yeah, that were stolen from Indigenous
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, like, it sounds horrible, but it frees you. It really does when you stop really hinging all the outcomes on, which politicians you'll have to beg
Yeah,
concessions from.
that's right. So I'm curious, like, still in the election kind of mindset though. Like, what's happening with the NDP then? Like, are they actually going to be gone? Like, are they actually disappearing, or are they going to put some banker in charge of their party?
Well, what's it like? A lawyer wearing a Rolex is not much different.
Yeah.
Oh well, let's play. My speculation is everyone who knows what's wrong with the party is looking at Matthew Green, and I have to tell them, like, Matthew Green might not be a bad person because I know he watches these things and he's a decent person, but me and him are not going to agree on a lot of things.
Right.
Um,
Still invested in the system as it stands, right? Like,
yeah,
he's
he stands
still.
by Jagmeet's decision, and
Yeah.
none of the people that are there that survived or who maybe are even at the periphery wanting to get back in, either elected or in some other form, none of them did anything, not one thing, to address the downfall of the party.
Mm,
No, and I mean, not even internally. Okay.
right.
So it's not like they worked hard and went up against the system. So I said the other day, if your idea of a reformist at the NDP is still in good standing with headquarters, with the folks that run the party, they're not the right choice.
Yeah.
Because I imagine right now, the staffers, the folks we're always talking about, are trying to find just a safe choice and to stave off any efforts to reform the party. I mean, they are buckling up for that right now because they're expecting it. They see all your invites to these events where you're trying to gather NDPers. And trust me, I've been there. I've been where they're at. They'll infiltrate your meetings. I sound like a crazy person, but they'll be ready for everything that you've got planned as long as you plan to use those mechanisms they've provided. So the party's going to have real trouble reforming themselves. So unfortunately, well, not unfortunately.
Not
Fortunately,
unfortunately.
I think you'll see other. I don't want to call them institutions because that's kind of like a slur to us right now. I think you'll see other organizations rise in its place.
Yeah.
That will gather people's energy that looks radically different from that institution. And whether it's aimed at elections solely or not, I hope not. But I think hopefully it allows people to just like really re-examine how they do politics, because the NDP don't have anybody that can fix it right now. A new figurehead won't do that. Even a Matthew Green can be like fiery, but he's still working within the same mechanisms that, purged much of the folks that would
Essentially
hold them
ruined the
accountable.
party. Yeah. So what do you think of the Revolution Party? Did you see any of their stuff?
I'm going to interview them soon, so I want to
Okay.
hold all judgment until I can
Okay.
ask them questions. So I've talked to folks in the Atlantic who've started to build a communist party there, but one that is not yet focused on elections,
Right.
but like building power from below. And, we see COPE in Vancouver
Yep.
and other folks trying to mimic that style. The Communist Party and the Marxist-Leninist Party each got about 5,000 plus votes. That's something for those people to build on.
Yep. It's not nothing, right?
It's not nothing, but I wouldn't. I'm still like a broken record. Put your energies out of partisan politics.
Yeah.
That is not a sustainable way to get where you need to go.
It's kind of a shame that so much energy goes into these things, right? Like, and money. Yeah. Yeah.
Money
Imagine
we don't
what
really
we could
have.
do. Yeah, imagine what we could do outside of electoralism with that money. Like, it'd be amazing.
And the expertise, that is the one thing the NDP refused to do that was hammered into them over and over again and makes no sense to me, even from their perspective, is the only free labor they would ever take from you was very well defined. You could knock on doors, you could join a call bank, you could fit a certain role in a campaign, or even a riding association had some defined roles. But if you tried to change how those roles looked, like building community aid networks and whatnot, that was so highly discouraged. And so was the other oddball kind of expertise. there was somebody out there that offered to build them a program for this, that, and the other thing, to a better database, a better way to engage activists.
Right.
Denied, ostracized. We made efforts to connect the riding association so that they could build each other up and not replicate labor and do stuff together in between elections and, build a movement. That was seen as completely suspect. So yeah.
Anything that undermines the power within that, that already
that centralized
takes
power.
Yeah.
Yes, they decided a long time ago. And plus, you get a taste of power. It's the same folks. For a long time, it was the Lewis family, and they still play a large part in it. But now it's like a consultant class, and you'd be horrified to hear the people who run the NDP, who they lobby for as a paid profession. You're talking about big oil and gas, Airbnb,
Yeah.
the worst players out there. And so you have to imagine, like,
literally the company, the industries that are causing the housing crisis and the economic issues that we face. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, what did Lenin tell us, right? Something, I'm not a theorist, but we only elect middle management here. This is a monopoly for capital, politics, right? We get the little tiny bits of influence that we work so hard to get, right? You ever work a campaign, you don't see your family. That's just with every 4 years. Like running a riding association is like all free labor. And it's got them nothing. I feel really bad for people who've poured.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some people who work multiple campaigns, every campaign. They're involved in 2 riding associations. They go to every convention and all the other events that they use their social media to boost these people up, just to be like so disillusioned and hurt in the end.
Like some real talented like organizers and stuff that end up wasting that on a political party that doesn't even do anything.
Yeah, imagine like what Sarah Jama could have brought into the party, right? If she was able to thrive in that role, to be the community organizer she was just in the Ontario legislature. Like, don't hold her back at all and see where it goes. And I think that was the biggest missed opportunity. I couldn't believe they even let her get that seat, right? Folks made a big stir about her nomination because I thought, oh no, this is the kind of person that the NDP does not want as a candidate. And you'd be like, what? Why? Like, they will explicitly tell you, activists, you've done too much in your community. You've stirred the pot too much. You are not prime candidate material. We can't even start to go over your social media. It's just so controversial and, radical.
Yeah,
and so, she was everything the party didn't want. And, they just found another way to get that.
Right.
That was a lost opportunity, though. That could have started like an actual movement, which in the end could have been a detriment, right? If you see the NDP as a vehicle to moderate us, the more people you end up drawing into that, is it helping?
Yeah. So if they actually, that's right. It would have moderated more people in a sense, right? But instead they alienated people and
maybe got them out into the streets, maybe got them starting things like, or volunteering with the Revolutionary Party or something that is not taking their energy away, but, build, at least using it to something that's sustainable, that exists outside of elections. So
maybe we should thank the NDP for imploding.
Well, they did tell us to be pretty grateful of their existence, right?
Well, for their failure. Thank you for falling apart and doing
Will he make this grandiose speech at the next convention? Because they're due, right? They were due anyway. So Jagmeet would have had to face a leadership review within months, right? Because they've kind of held on to that. So we should see if they will continue to like feature him and hold him up, or will he end up like Mulcair?
Right.
Like just persona non grata, don't come back here. And then he'll just shit talk us from the armchairs of CBC or whoever.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll have him. I don't know.
Well, actually, I was going to say too, I probably sound like a broken record, but for me, it's the anarchist theory of means and ends. If you enter a party like that and you think that you're going to change it or be radical enough for it, then it often ends up changing you, or you get booted out. So that's
I have no idea what you're talking about, Corey.
It's the theory of means and ends is that the
Oh, I
means
was
you
being
use.
facetious. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Because that's exactly what happened to me, right? It was like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
no, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
for sure.
I
You either
should be
get
heavier
changed.
with the sarcasm next time.
That's it's okay. I just didn't catch it.
No, I completely agree with you. And I'm all for like various tactics, right? You don't all, definitely don't all choose the same tactic,
Right.
right? Like it is about allowing people to continue to go at these avenues if they want to go, and like we'll equip them best they can. But, I'm telling you, it's wasted energy, at least. So embrace your inner anarchist when you, at least if you're going to go into these spaces, and find other avenues of change that we
Yeah.
didn't try, that they're not expecting.
Yeah. Yeah. And expect to get kicked out if they catch you doing.
Don't be too upset when
That's
they
right.
strike up a secret committee to investigate you.
Yeah.
And yeah, but that is a whole other episode. Yes, I wish more people knew that, because we can laugh about it, but it does really hurt when you think
I bet.
you've got all your hopes vested into this thing, this entity, and not only do you see it for its true self, but when you can fight conservatives all day long, we do it all day long, right? Sometimes we get
Yep.
giddy doing it. Like it's
That's
it's
right.
like it's fun because we've got logic on our side.
And evidence
But
and reason.
yeah, but when the people you've held up come after you in those ways or let you down, like best case scenario, they've only just let you down.
Right.
It really is a gut punch. It slows good people down. It burns them out, and it changes them into cynics. So, I really, really wish people didn't have to see it for themselves. I
Yeah, for
really
sure.
wish you would just listen to my podcast and,
Yeah.
know
Learn
what.
these lessons secondhand.
Yeah, like revolutionaries, right? We always have to get to these really dire conditions where we're like just mimicking somebody else, right? That something historic, but you still can't wave enough flags for folks to sometimes still see it coming.
Yeah, that's right.
They've got to experience it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we all have to learn the hard way sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, like fascism. My mom the other day, but like, why would he do that? He's talking about Trump, or she's talking about Trump, something, Alcatraz. And I
Right.
go, I don't think you understand the project here, right? Like, it's not actually to save government money. It's not to make sense or do
No.
good. It's to strike fear, set a certain imagery, and this is all part of, hyper capitalism.
Yeah, it's the expansion of the state and capital. It's always the project.
Yeah. Don't think like what you would do. Think what the most evil, villainous person you can
Right,
imagine would
exactly.
do, who wants nothing but something for themselves, right?
Yeah,
Then a lot of more policies will make sense to
that's
you.
right. Yeah, that's right. All right. 55 minutes. Anything we should mention but that we haven't talked about?
Check in on your comrades. We laugh about the election results here, but some people are devastated. So if you haven't heard from somebody in a while, especially if they're political, they could be struggling with this, like these dark times that we're in, that we
Yeah,
chit chat about, but have real repercussions for people. And we sometimes are so focused on the fight that we forget that rest and, community care are
yeah,
just as important. Right.
yeah,
So
for sure.
that
Yeah.
was my moment of wisdom. Of course, I don't practice that as well as I
Well, it's
portend.
not easy either, right? Like we all have a lot of stuff going on. So,
I
but
will check in with a comrade after this call, though. I promise.
right on.
At least two of them.
Okay. And where can people find you and your content?
Oh, we've got a new Substack I would love people to check out. Blueprints of Disruption. That's my tag everywhere we go. I mean, you can look for me, Jessa McLean, but I am so proud of the work that we do over there, and I've started writing again. So it's
Nice.
always from the perspective of movements and how it will help or hinder, and sharing tools for activists and organizers, and getting people excited about the endless amount of political possibilities that aren't like capital P. They're
Right.
and sometimes the bad guys don't even see these ones coming. So that is really where you should be spending your energy,
Right on.
organizing your building, or
Yep.
really scaring the capital.
Yeah, I know like the episodes of yours that I've been on and that I've watched and listened to, there's always lots of good tips and thoughts for organizing and activism of various kinds. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey, and thanks for having me on. I always have fun. I don't have to plan so much for these, right? I just come on and talk and talk and talk and talk, and I love to talk. So much appreciated the invitation.
For sure. I guess that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Ciao for now, Corey.